hope you enjoyed the NBA off-season. Welcome to day one of our 2019-20 NBA preseason coverage. Hello from SportsCenter, hello from New York, and hello, Michael Eaves.
What up, KO? And yeah, if this latest iteration of the NBA Finals didn't provide enough drama for you, sit tight for the next 4 weeks because we've got some things popping off. Perhaps no other NBA Finals shook up the league going into the summer quite like this year's. As a result, we've got questions. First up, will bringing the Raptors their first title be enough to entice Kawhi to stay in the six? He can sign a bigger max deal with the Raptors, but is a homecoming courtesy of maybe the Clippers more appealing? The Nets, by the way, they have money to spend as well. Now, if the thought of Toronto losing its best player wasn't enough, how about the prez of basketball operations, too? Per league sources, the Wizards preparing to offer Masai Ujiri a deal that could approach $10 million a year. And then the Warriors, two key pieces, KD and Clay, suffering significant injuries with free agency looming. Does Durant's injury shake up a potential partnership with Kyrie? He has until June 29th to pick up his player option. As for Clay, he's not eligible for the Supermax, but he can sign for an extra year and more money if he stays in Golden State. Plus, how will his torn ACL play into that decision? As far as keeping this duo in the Bay, Bob Myers, what say you?
We value those guys at the highest level. I mean, wouldn't be a very good, whatever I am, GM if I didn't understand how valuable they are to our own team. They're both fantastic. So those are guys that you do everything you can to keep within your organization.
It's hard to even picture, what next year's team will look like at this point, and we'll see how it all shakes out. And we're hoping to have both those guys back. And if that's the case, it'd be great. But neither one would be available for quite a while to play, so our team's going to look a lot different next year.
All right, NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski joined us now, and going into this summer, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, two of the most high sought-after free agents, but now they have these injuries. What impact do these injuries have, Woj, on the Warriors' chances of keeping both of them?
Well, certainly their intent, is both Bob Myers, Steve Kerr said, is to re-sign them. Joe Lacob, they're committed financially. They're going to have to go really historically deep into luxury tax to re-sign both, but they want to. Klay Thompson all along with him, it's been, if he gets the full 5-year max contract, very likely he's going to just stay. He won't take meetings on June 30th. Kevin Durant, there's more of a recruitment that's going to go on here, or certainly more of a conversation. He has considered the possibility of going back east, the Knicks, the Brooklyn Nets, but he can do a 5-year, over $200 million deal to stay with the Warriors, and the Warriors are ready to pay that, even though it means next year, he'll be essentially a $40 million redshirt player.
Right, exactly. Going into the new arena, though, in San Francisco, maybe they're still looking for the future. But let me ask you this, though. What's the likelihood that other teams around the league will still offer max contracts to these two dudes, even with those injuries?
Absolutely. The teams who are all going to recruit Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, they're going out recruiting, offering the full scholarship.
Injuries don't matter to them.
No, listen. Now, you sign him in New York or Brooklyn, that's a 4-year deal with Kevin Durant. You hope you're going to get 3 really good, healthy years with him. They're all willing to do it. They are all still on board in their pursuit of Durant. Same with Klay Thompson.
All right, well, sit tight because we want to get some insight from you on an incident that happened last night after the game there in the Bay Area. For more on that, we'll send it out to Keith.
All right, Michael. So then there is the Masai Ujiri story. No, not that story. The other one. The Raptors say they are cooperating with the Alameda County Sheriff's Office about whatever did or did not happen between the team's president of basketball ops and an officer who tried to stop him from getting on the court after his team won the title last night, and there was contact between the two men. Sheriff's Office spokesman Sergeant Ray Kelly issued a statement on what his department claims happened. Quote, Mr. Ujiri was unknown to the deputy at the time. He, the deputy, asked him for a credential. He shoved the deputy out of the way and walked toward the court. The deputy pushed back. The president came forward more with a more significant push and ended up striking the deputy in face, unquote. Is that what happened? This jumpy video shot by NBC Bay Area News shows contact but not context. We don't have discernible audio. We don't have what happened before. We do know the Alameda County Sheriff's Office is investigating on suspicion of misdemeanor battery on a police officer. Moments later, all seemed sweetness and light as Kyle Lowry spotted his boss, who traded his best friend, and brought him onto the court, and there was a happy embrace. Our Brian Windhorst tried to figure out what actually happened.
Well, Masai was off the court. He was outside the Raptors locker room watching the end of the game. He was watching on TV. And once the game ended, naturally, he came down the tunnel. I did not witness the incident, but I talked to some people who were there. And you also have to have different credentials to get in there. Yeah. So it may have just been a misunderstanding that boiled over. Obviously, Masai was incredible. I have to imagine. I don't know for sure.
So emotional.
But I have to assume was very emotional. Hopefully, this is just a misunderstanding that will get cleared up. But it is unfortunate.
Back with Woj. The NBA does what now?
Well, the NBA is talking with Masai Ujiri. They're talking with the team, and they're talking with the authorities in the Bay Area, trying to get the complete story here. And, certainly, and I think Brian said it there, Rachel, like Masai Ujiri has had a very unique story to reach this point in the league, a championship moment. And certainly there was a lot of emotion there, and clearly it spilled over with he and the officer at hand.
And if that were not enough, the other Ujiri story, the championship celebration and the offseason lasted 3 minutes, thanks to somebody who broke the story that the Wizards are willing to break the bank if he'll leave Toronto to run their ship. Is there any news on that? And is there any impact on that from the brouhaha with the sheriff?
No, I don't think there's any impact from that. The impact from last night is that he led the Raptors to a championship. That's why Washington is interested. That's why this job, their job search process has been stalled for weeks, waiting for Toronto's season to end to make a run at Masai Ujiri. And they were turned down once already by Tim Connolly, the president of basketball operations in Denver. And I know that Washington does not want to be turned down again. I think they're trying to get a sense of the chance they would have to lure Ujiri there. But he is a executive that will be in great demand all around the league for years to come. He's turned down some pretty good jobs in the past. He's got a really good one in Toronto.
All right, Woj, I think that's it, unless you're breaking a third Ujiri story before you go. No rest for the Woj. Many thanks.
See you, Keith.
As we said, hope you enjoyed the offseason.
With a win over the most formidable dynasty in the NBA.
They can play their best tonight. I'm so excited. Let's go, Raptors! Woo!
It feels like it's not just Toronto, but the whole country, right?
That's right. Listen, everybody's rooting for the Raptors, except probably Golden State. You know what I'm saying? This is it. This is a win for everybody to be a freaking team outside of the U.S. to do this, to play the hardest game ever. Are you kidding me? Let's go, Raptors!
This championship means everything. We winning. This is our first time. We got this. We got it, baby. We got it!
Excited is an understatement when it comes to the first NBA title to come to Canada.
So much stuff was going through my head. I just can't believe this moment has finally come.
It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, look at the city. We definitely needed this. We definitely needed a win like this, for sure.
Toronto teams have won championships in the past, but this one just feels bigger. As one Raptors fan told me, we're used to being overshadowed by our louder, brasher neighbor to the south. But he added, it's nice to grab the spotlight for yourself every once in a while. In Toronto, I'm Michelle Steele, ESPN.
Yeah, problem is the Raptors could now lose more key pieces in the next 3 months than the Warriors did in the last 2 games. Anyway, Michael Wilbon joins us now. Thank you for that, sir. What does the title mean in Toronto for Kawhi's future?
Wow. We know so little about Kawhi. Still, I mean, the San Antonio Spurs had him for, 7 years, Keith? They thought they knew him. Turns out they didn't. And now, does he say, listen, I gave you people everything you wanted, and I'm going to head home to Southern California, my big house down near San Diego? Or does he say, what does California have that I don't have here in Toronto, where an entire nation adores me and us, I'll stay here? I don't think anybody knows. People even around the club are saying, hey, what do you hear? So I don't know what they know even a day after they've won a title.
All right, before we fully forget these finals all the way in the past there last night, you live the NBA more than I do. Maybe you can explain this to me. Seems to me the Warriors got punished 5 different times when Klay Thompson got hurt. One, he got hurt. 2, he had to shoot the free throws or he couldn't possibly come back in later. 3, they had to foul to get him off the court to safety, so they give back the 2 points. 4, he clearly could have made the injury worse by having to do that. For all we know, he did. And 5, he couldn't come back anyway. Is there not another way to do this that might be a little more fair and less risky to a superstar?
Keith, there must be a half dozen ways to do it, I guess, better. But are you trying to rob us of all that drama? You must admit, Keith, I mean, each one of those steps just sort of heightened the drama and the suspense, if you will, in a game where you have plenty of it. I'm actually okay. I know we could have shaved like 4 minutes off that game time, goodness knows. But I'm okay with that kind of drama, the way it played out. And by the way, Klay was doing jumping jacks in the locker room after the free throws, thinking he might come back before they shut it down. So I hope it didn't make it worse.
I hope it didn't make it worse, too. Michael Wilbon of PTI every afternoon here before the 6, now available without a prescription. Get some rest. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Keith.
So here's
Last night, there was a long line of Warriors haters ready to throw dirt on the grave of Golden State's dynasty. And if you're trying to make an argument of why the Dubs run might be over, you would obviously point directly at the injuries to Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson. But Steve Kerr says, don't bury his squad just yet.
With all the questions hanging over the team, is there any part of you that wonders if this could be the end of the dynasty?
No, I don't look at it or think about it in those terms. I really don't. Steph's going to be back next year, and Draymond's going to be back, and we're going to have a bunch of the players from here, and we can still be really good. And assuming we get some breaks health-wise. Klay, KD, that, they recover, we could be really good again. So I don't look at it from that standpoint at all.
Nick Friedel covers the Warriors for us. Go right to it. Do they have to make decisions about Durant and Klay and everything else, or have they already made the decisions? It's just a question of executing them.
Keith, these decisions are done. As far as the Warriors are concerned, the message to Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant is very clear today. You guys want max deals? You guys want all the money? Take it, because we want you to stay. The Warriors wholeheartedly believe that Klay and Kevin will come back healthy and they can continue the run that they're on. They're too proud to say this in the moment, but they're looking at next year now as a little bit of a gap year. Get everybody right physically, get everybody right mentally. After 5 years pushing for the finals, get Kevin and Klay back on the floor with Steph and Draymond and keep rolling. But that message and the terminology from where they stand is very clear. If these guys want max deals, they're going to get them this summer from the Warriors.
So fans, enjoy the new arena, buy more new souvenirs, have a nice time. ESPN's Nick Friedel. Hope you enjoyed the offseason, all 3 minutes of it. Many thanks. Even with the uncertainty surrounding Klay Thompson immediately following Game 6, Vegas still had the Warriors pegged as the favorites for the 2020 title. Then came news of the ruptured ACL. The Warriors dropped to 5th on the list of championship contenders. LeBron and the Lakers taking Golden State's spot at number 1. No, I'm not kidding. There's a graphic. Caesars Sportsbook senior oddsmaker Alan Berg tried to explain why the Lakers are the betting fave. He tried to do so without laughing. Quote, "We are treating all these bets as sharp on the basis that it's a very speculative market with all the powerful free agents who can turn these teams into championship contenders." I'm thinking something about P.T. Barnum and the birth every minute of a sucker or something, Michael, I think.
Well, now back to the NFL. Over the last decade, quarterbacks drafted in the first round average 11 starts as rookies, nearly half start week 1. That's a big change from the previous decade when first-round rookie QBs averaged only 6 starts and rarely started the season opener. So will this trend continue for guys such as, Dwayne Haskins? Well, Washington coach Jay Gruden asked recently if he was seriously considering the former Ohio State standout for the starting job, and Gruden responded by saying, quote, "Oh, for sure. I'd be silly not to. He's put enough out there on tape to say he deserves a shot without a doubt. I don't know quite what he can do in the NFL in the system because it's new to him. But his ability warrants the fact that, hey, let's take a peek at this big son of a blank." Okay. NFL insider Dan Graziano joins us now here on SportsCenter to go a little deeper into this Haskins conversation. You're Washington, so you brought in Case Keenum in the offseason. You got Colt McCoy coming back, but you drafted Haskins to be your future quarterback. So with that being said, what's the chances he starts week 1?
There's a chance, but it comes down to what he shows in training camp. He's going to have to actually win that week 1 job. I think in Washington's ideal world, he would sit for a while behind Keenum or McCoy, whoever came out ahead in that competition. And that would mean that they were having success. If they start to lose games early, it would be more likely they'd see the young guy. But if he lights it up in camp and looks like the best option come week 1 and they think he's ready and they won't do him any harm by playing him, it's absolutely a possibility.
Definitely some passing numbers there they'd like to improve, and maybe he's the guy to do it. On ESPN.com right now, you've got an article titled The NFL Minicamp Absences That Actually Matter and What's Next. So let's go through some of these absences. Speaking of Haskins, how about the guy who could be protecting his blind side, Pro Bowl left tackle Trent Williams?
This is part of it, right? Do you want to put your rookie quarterback behind an offensive line that doesn't have its left tackle? Williams has 2 years and $24 million left on his contract. That's low for a tackle as good as he is. He also had a medical issue this offseason, and he's had some back and forth with the team about that. So there's some things to work out there before he is happy and back.
Down in Houston, Jadeveon Clowney.
Franchise player, hasn't signed the tender. This time last year, that was a description of Le'Veon Bell, who ended up sitting out the whole season. Would Clowney do that? We don't know, but he wants a new deal or a trade to a team that'll give him one. They have till July 15th to work out a new contract with him.
And in San Francisco, kicker Robbie Gould is missing.
Yes, same situation. He's a franchise player. He makes a lot less than Clowney, but because he's a kicker, but he would like a trade or a new deal. Chicago, where he used to kick, they need a kicker very, very badly. It would be a great match if the Niners would work something out with the Bears, but that would be giving Gould what he wants. And in these situations, you don't often see the team eager to do that.
Seems like the major strategy these guys have when they don't like the franchise tag situation, skip out and see if they can force the team's hand. We'll see what happens there. Dan Graziano, good stuff.
And this just in, Zion Williamson will be the first choice in the NBA draft on ESPN 6 days and about 15 minutes from now. As they say, alert the media. But there's more to it than that. If you had a draft consisting of, say, all the guys who have ever been drafted number 1, who would you pick first in their prime to play in this league this year? Could it be Zion Williamson? ESPN's NBA insider Mike Schmitz tried to figure out a way to figure out an answer.
On this edition of Scouting the Draft, I'm going to show you why Zion Williamson eventually has a chance to become the most dynamic point center in the NBA.
Williamson down with a rebound. Look at the pass. Rejected by Zion. Terrific pass. How about that pass? Are you kidding me?
Zion is truly a positionless prospect. Here's why. It starts on the defensive end of the floor. Now, he's 6'7", but he operates like a center. His ability to rotate from the weak side and protect the rim is high level. He averaged 2.4 blocks per 40 minutes, playing mostly the 4 at Duke. Watch his quickness, his instincts here, gobbling up Nick Richards at the rim, and then he's pushing in transition like a point guard. Look at his ability to thread the needle here to RJ Barrett. You don't see guys 6'7", 285 pounds who can make a bounce pass like that on the move. RJ Barrett finishes the and one. So we can play like a center defensively and a point guard in the open court. Now, people might say, okay, Zion, he's 6'7". How is this guy ever going to play center on the defensive end? Well, he has incredible instincts and he plays like a 7-footer. When he can get to that launching pad, look at how big he plays. That's against a 6'8" guy in DeAndre Hunter, a potential top 5 pick. He volleyball spikes that, so he can really protect the rim for a guy his size. And then on the other end of the floor, there are no 4s, no 5s who can guard him. Nobody can keep him in front, whether it's Rudy Gobert. No center in the NBA can guard this guy in space. Watch him blow by DJ Harvey here with the crossover, and then he's going to force John Mooney to help up the lane. He has a great line of vision on the drop-off to Javin DeLaurier. That is a high-level read. So again, defensively, he can play as a small ball 5, and then offensively, he can initiate the majority of your offense. So Zion Williamson is going to be a mismatch nightmare in the NBA.
Metrics. We need metrics plays. ESPN's NBA draft projections give Zion a 59% chance to reach an all-star level of play, second best of any prospect in the last 15 drafts, behind only Anthony Davis. Those projections take into account a player's AAU and college production, ESPN draft expert rankings, and